Good evening, race fans, and welcome to the virtual Talladega Super Speedway for tonight's Southtown 250, the final race of the regular season for the 2025A Elite Belly Up Sports Cup Series season. I am Zach Evans, joined in the booth by James Watson, as well as Dave Huckleberry producing. David Westergreen, you'll hear from him some tonight, but he is on track this evening, dabbling as a racer. So
Or
he'll
in-race
be our
reporter.
in-race reporter, so to speak. Yes. Qualifying underway right now, James, but obviously, what do you expect to see this evening as we find out who's going to make our playoff field?
Well, considering that a good chunk of the races we've seen this season have been pretty chaotic, and now we're coming to a track that actively promotes chaotic moves, chaotic racing, and chaotic wrecks, add into the fact that this is the last race to make the playoffs. I'm expecting a very clean, straightforward race.
Sure. Yeah. I don't think there was any sarcasm at all in that analysis. Certainly, I think that's always a possibility at Talladega, right? The chaos, the probably a few multi-car incidents somewhere along the way over the next 250 miles. We will see how it all plays out. About 30 seconds left in this qualifying session. Certainly, we'll be able to kind of explain the playoff scenarios in more details. Here's the race format: 94 lap race, 3 sets of tires for these teams in the pits. Not that tire wear is a huge issue at the super speedways, and there will be the end of the stage at the end of lap 30. So that will be another point earning opportunity to keep an eye on as we get closer to that lap. We should have the starting grid here shortly as qualifying has concluded. And here it is. Your 4D Racewear Pole Award goes to Ethan Burrell in car 37 with a time of 53.616 seconds. Caleb Pecumer joining him on the front row in the number 59 for South Shore Racing. Tyler Fody roll off third. Ray Bracey's strong qualifying effort in fourth. Justin Wadsworth, defending series champion, in fifth. Jesse Racibas qualifying into sixth position. There's David Westergreen, that in-race reporter, qualifying seventh. R.C. Enerson will roll off from the eighth spot. Trey Holmes qualifying ninth, and Johnny Thomas rounding out the top 10. Gerald Campbell qualifying 11th. Carlos Acosta qualifying 12th, and another strong qualifying effort. Dustin Dewar in the 13th position. Brent Jones 14th. Chris Wright will roll off in the 15th position. Lake Norgard on the outside of row 8 in that 16th spot. Seth Rawls 17th. Matthew Weeks 18th. Scott Crump 19th. Ethan Stanley rolling off 20th. Jonathan Cutlip 21st. Ryan Gable 22nd. Blake Reynolds 23rd. Kyle Hanshaw starting 24th. As we go further back in the field, Michael Goodman starting 25th. Gavin Hibbs will roll off 26th. On the 14th row is Paul Mikolajczyk and Harrison Talon. Gavin Higgins starting 29th. Josh Adams in 30th. Jeff Green will roll off 31st. Chad Frankenfield to his outside in 32nd. Harper Billis 33rd. Justin Vandermarl 34th. Ty McIntosh 35th. Ryan Schold starting 36th. And in the round out our field of 41 cars this evening, Justin Fortner qualifies 37th. Gilberto Javier Gomera 38th. Garrison Hogan 39th. Nick Massey 40th. And Michael Hosek will start 41st.
I tell you, this is a really jumbled up grid here. A lot of the guys that need a good run to make the playoffs are starting up there in the front exactly where they need to be. And a lot of the locked in guys are kind of starting around the T20 onward.
And while we've got the scoring pylon on the side of the screen, we'll kind of illustrate this for you. Green is locked in. Yellow are guys entering the race in the top 16 in points and therefore in the playoffs. That will not update in real time over the course of the evening, but those are the drivers who entered the night in the playoff field. Orange drivers are just outside that top 16, but could earn their way into the playoffs with either a win or by accumulating enough points to break into that top 16. Red background drivers on the scoring pylon cannot mathematically get into the top 16 in points. They need to win, and they need to make sure they are in the top 25 in points in order to take advantage of that win. If you're outside the top 25, it doesn't matter if you have the wins or not. And then lastly, the blue, those are drivers that mathematically can't get into the top 25 in points and therefore will not be in the playoff field this year, even if they were to win the night.
Blue, because those that can't make the playoffs are sad.
They are singing the blues after tonight, but maybe not if they win. You know, winning cures everything. It may not get you in the playoffs, but it will put you in a real happy feeling. There's Barney. He's got to be waiting a while here because the field's just coming out of turn 4. Of course, you hear him all the time on the broadcast for the real races, James. You know, start-finish line at Talladega, it's not in the tri-oval like every other racetrack. It's all the way down here.
Yep. I might as well turn that into a drinking game. Take a shot every time we point that out tonight.
Green flag is out. We are ready for 94 laps of racing here in the Southtown 250. Out front, Ethan Burrell, and we'll see. Obviously, we got to watch the hour or so of practice leading into this race, and an interesting trend we saw was a little bit more of the kind of the old school tandem draft. We'll see if these guys start breaking it out here in the race, or they're just going to ride along in the pack here to start this long race, 250 miles, but we'll kind of see how the field treats this opening to the race.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing. It was kind of tripping me up because from my limited understanding at plate racing in this car is that the draft characteristics can be pretty wacky. So to me, it's always been really easy to lose the draft no matter what you do, and not that easy to get close enough to bump draft. You know, the whole beach ball in between the cars type deal. So to see everyone get that close and kind of tandem, it was, oh, we got one. Wow.
Mark Rebellis going way off onto the runoff there, but it looks like he's regained control of the 96, and I think you are right. He might be in danger of losing the draft after losing even that much ground, which is unfortunate for him, but certainly nothing there to warrant throwing a caution. And we'll take a look on the Rebellis photography replay machine to see exactly what happened there to the namesake, Mark Rebellis. Inside of 3 wide here, making his way out of turn number 2. And I wonder if, did somebody go down the track into it? Oh, yeah, so not clear there. It looks like maybe Josh Adams was trying to slot in front of Jeff Green and caught the right front quarter panel of that 2 car, and unfortunately is Rebellis who pays the price as he gets doored all the way down to the runoff there on the Alabama Gang backstretch here at Talladega. Up front, there you see Ethan Burrell. These front 5 cars have singled out and broken away from the pack a little bit. We'll see if they're able to keep that distance or not. But I think kind of to, you know, what you were explaining there, James, before that incident, we're seeing a lot more of the bump drafting than we had seen in our Daytona 500 earlier this season. Definitely some changes to the draft platform on iRacing with this next-gen car since that race. And worth pointing out, obviously, that wasn't a great example of it. I think we'd all agree that was the right call there to not throw caution. But after some of the incidents we saw in the Daytona 500, we have given, here in the Elite Racing League, the admin the ability to throw a yellow flag if it is deemed necessary for a multi-car incident in a super speedway setting. So we'll see if that comes into play later tonight. Car 2 is not Chad Frankenfield.
Hey. Yeah, I'm curious on, what type of wrecks we're going to be seeing here, because you look, they're really starting to single file out here, and we're starting to get that kind of breakaway that I was kind of worried about.
So it looks like the tally the two of Jeff Green. I'll admit I'd have to go back and look at that again. It looked like in the one replay we saw, maybe the 22 came down, but perhaps in the eye of race control, it was more a case of Jeff Green moving up the racetrack. They definitely got more looks at than we did, since it did stay green. So nevertheless, that's what the ruling there is. Tally to Jeff Green in the 2 car.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you there. On my first watch, it looked like the 22 just kind of came down a little bit. So I don't know if we're going to see an appeal from that from Jeff Green or not, but yeah.
Of course, one thing to keep in mind, and I'll be honest, I had kind of forgotten from competing in Elite over the years. The tallies do reset at the end of the regular season, so as long as there isn't a points penalty that comes along with that could keep you out of the playoffs. If you have to get one, tonight's a good night to get one. And of course, with Jeff Green, he is mathematically out of the playoffs either way. So as long as he doesn't get himself parked with a second tally, that's not going to be a huge impact on his evening.
Yeah, it's good to kind of have that, and to especially have it at a track like here where there's going to be all kinds of incidental contact coming up. It's good to not really have to worry about that really kind of messing up your chances in the playoffs.
Certainly that's going to be something we have to keep an eye on. In general, for this evening, you see the colors on the side of the screen, and you're going to have some of these guys looking to end the regular season on a high note with a win. Some of these guys trying to race their way into the playoffs with a win. But, also some of these guys that are locked in, sure, they would like to win, but if they have a teammate trying to race their way into the playoffs, it may be a situation where... Thank you. It might be a situation where they offer to push a teammate to the win and get that playoff berth. So obviously a lot of time between now and then to see how it all plays out. Now we're starting to see the field get back into that double file once again. R.C. Anderson is leading that outside lane in the number 50 car. A guy that at one point I don't think we would have considered a playoff contender just because he hadn't raced enough with us this season, but now he's strung together enough starts to point his way into that top 25. And right now, I mean, that's the deal for him. He has to stay in the top, I think actually he has to stay in the top 16 on points, because he can't use the win that he has to get in because of the races he has missed. But he is in that playoff position on points and hoping to keep the car clean tonight and stay in a good point standing coming out of the evening.
Yeah, that's impressive as heck to miss as many races as he had and still be sitting in a playoff spot right now. And knock on wood, as long as he doesn't get nuked and finish real down in the field, I think he'll be able to pull it off. But again, knock on wood, we certainly know my penchant for the commentator's curse here. So hoping that doesn't happen to RC.
Right now, RC getting a very, very strong push from Chris Wright in the 9 car, and I guess I'll have to play the part of David Westergreen here for a little bit and talk about South Shore Racing. I joke a lot about all the cars they have in the field, but tonight with David out there with his team, that does, offer one more bullet in the chamber, so to speak, when it comes to whether it be trying to get Chris Wright into this playoff grid or getting one of those other drivers a victory.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Oh boy.
They kept it straight, but I believe that might have been Chris Wright, either him or Paul Mikolajczyk that got a piece of the wall there. Not entirely sure.
Oh, Chris Wright is getting left out to dry.
Yes, he is. That's got to allow Paul Mikolajczyk to lead that outside lane. He's got Jonathan Cutlett behind him. Chris Wright falls in well back there. Up front, R.C. Enerson leading the way. Paul Mikolajczyk leading that outside lane.
Now, the thing I'm going to be keeping my eye on is strategy. Plate tracks in Talladega especially is a great opportunity to really stretch your legs in the strategy department. And so if you're deeper in the back, what do you do? Typically, if it was me, I would be just running in the back, not making any sort of moves, just chilling, trying to save as much fuel as I can, and use that as my ticket to leapfrog a bunch of people and gain that, caution. Like
Carlos Acosta may be involved. Yeah. Oh, so this must have started earlier because that's Jesse Racimus in the grass. So maybe some kind of stack up here. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
So that's gonna get everybody stacked up here on the grass, and I'm guessing somebody's got to slide up the track here and trigger the caution. Or maybe it was something else. That's an odd one. And it was not... That was not an admin issued yellow. I'm a little confused by that one, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm gonna join you in that confusion because you'd think with how much they were on the apron, nothing would have come from that caution-wise. But apparently the iRacing cautions thought differently.
Nevertheless, that's got to bring the field down pit road, and it might be a good chance for us to get an ad break here. So we'll be right back after this word from our sponsors.
Since 2010, race fans have had one burning question. When will the Xfinity Series return to Worldwide Technology Raceway? You asked, NASCAR delivered. On Saturday, September 6, 2025, the magic is back. The track that launched the legendary careers of Harvick, Busch, Keselowski, Edwards, and Earnhardt Jr. is now ready to write that next chapter. We're going to introduce you to a new crop of future champions and Hall of Famers. And in the process, we'll create more of the greatest moments in racing history. NASCAR Weekend 2025. the NASCAR Cup Series Championship Playoffs, the Confluence Music Festival, and now 250 miles of the NASCAR Xfinity Series. 2 incredible races, 1 challenging track, a 3-day party of epic proportions. Go to www.raceway.com and lock in your weekend racing and camping packages for as little as $20 down.
They walk among us, but at 240 miles per hour, they become something more. They're thrill seekers, risk takers, and maybe just a little bit unhinged. Buckle up. This new era of speed, this racing revolution, it's just getting started.
Welcome back here to the Southtown 250. Getting ready to go back green after our first caution of the evening involving Carlos Acosta and Jesse Racines. See, Chad Frankenfield is out front along with Josh Adams. You see a couple of cars on pit road. Most of those were topping off on fuel before we go back green.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of cars play in the fuel game. What I was trying to allude to before the caution came out was how much are the guys towards the back of the field going to be focusing on their fuel strategy and trying to make their stops as quick as possible so they can use that to get themselves track position late in the race.
And that's definitely a huge factor to consider. It was almost a factor in our Revelist Photography Grand National Series event on Monday at Daytona. There was a point in the race where definitely some guys were trying to make that fuel last a little bit longer and were riding around and hoping to stretch a fuel run. Of course, we got a caution that kind of threw a wrench into all of that, but nevertheless, we're going to get ready to go back green here. It'll be lap 17 when they come back to the line. See the pace car pulling off. Again, waiting for that Geico restart zone, and here we go.
Big jump for the first 3 on the inside line.
Absolutely. So that's Chad Frankenfield into 15, Ethan Burrell into 37, able to get out front. And we'll see if this pack can close back in on them. Right now, I mean, this is kind of what we saw in practice. Those two cars able to hook up and distance themselves, but at some point, obviously the temperatures get a little. Oh, Josh Adams gets shuffled out there from the bump from Tyler Fode. So now while the front two are able to break away, they're 3 wide behind them.
What's that on the apron?
And
Was that the?
RTE.
Is that the 7
Ray
of Ray
Bracey. So
Bracey?
he had actually, yes, he had a disconnected internet issue. So, and one thing to keep in mind here, because we do have the 6-lap down rule on the super speedways at Elite, where if you go 6 laps down, then you are asked to park for the evening. But in a disconnect situation like that for Ray Bracey, they will offer you the grace of the laps you lost while you were disconnected from the session. So I'm not sure what his magic number is, but right now he's showing 2 laps down, but at least one, if not both of those, are not actually going to count towards his 6-lap tally at the moment.
And if there's ever a track you want that to happen to, not that you ever want your connection to kind of spaz out on you like that, you definitely want to have it happen here at Daytona or Talladega. It's a lot easier to get your laps back because of how big the track is, how likely you are to get cautions here, and the fact that because the track is so big, it's not super likely for many others to go a lap down. So right now, him being, I think, still 2 laps down, he's got a good chance of making that up, provided he gets the timely yellows he needs.
But definitely, I think, like you say, if there's a track where it has to happen, this is the one. Now we'll go on board Josh Adams running second in car 22, carrying that Southtown sponsorship in the Southtown race here. And now Tyler Fode jumping up to the middle lane to cut off that run from RC Enerson. And now RC will, and we have a caution. Not sure.
Oh! That's
Lots
a big
of cars
one.
involved there. So that's Nick Massey. We
Damn,
see
no.
Johnny Thomas, Dante Cutlip. We'll see what happened here. Oh, looks like somebody tried to take it 4 wide there and hooks the right rear. So that's Chris Wright into Gavin Higgins. And that's got to hook Gavin Higgins into Justin Wadsworth. And that's got to stack up. I mean, that's the leading cars on the 3rd lane there. So that's got to stack up everybody behind this. There you're going to see Jonathan Cutlip, Nick Massey, Blake Reynolds might save that. I think he did maintain control of that. Scott Crump involved. There you see Johnny Thomas.
Here comes Ryan Gavel to get some damage on his car. Nowhere to go.
So, a lot of cars collecting this. Not sure if any of them took massive hits, but definitely not the start to the, I mean, we're still only, 20 laps or so into this race. Not the start to the evening you want here at Talladega.
Absolutely not. This is a long race. 250 miles is a long time at this track. But the one person that really wanted to see that is Ray Bracey, because I believe he's going to be getting the lucky dog from this, right? Did he avoid getting involved in this? I don't remember seeing him.
I can't imagine he would have even been in the pack since he was coming out of the pits as the field was going by, so I would imagine he should be clean and able to pick up one of those 2 laps. And indeed, it looks like he is in the process of doing so right now. He was the only car not on the lead lap, no other candidate for the free pass, so that Bill Elliott throwback has got to pick up one of those 2 laps. Of course, once upon a time, that car picked up 2 laps under green and won here at Talladega. I don't know if that's not necessarily the way Ray wanted to cosplay Bill Elliott, but we'll see him at least get one of those 2 laps back here.
I mean, if you're going to do a Bill Elliott throwback, and you can pull off one of Bill's greatest moments, This is the way to do it.
For sure.
And
And hopefully his internet cooperates the rest of the way. Not entirely sure. And to be fair, I'm saying internet. We don't know if, it could be anything that removed him from iRacing, right? It could have been his computer shut off. I mean, Lord knows. We've all seen Pushkin on the car. Who knows? Maybe Pushkin pulled a cable. Anything is possible, but regardless, the net result was he was in the session and then he was no longer in the session. And it was not a voluntary choice on his behalf.
yeah, and given how wonky the weather's been for pretty much the majority of the country, wouldn't be surprised if the weather is messing with that a bit. I don't know if the weather is that bad enough in the Carolinas, Zach?
Today has been beautiful in the Carolinas, so I'm going to say that's not the case for Ray down in the inferior Carolina. But
I'm so happy for you, because the weather here in Ohio has been absolutely, all balmy, 32 degrees, and I believe there's some snow on the ground.
I believe, if I'm not mistaken, you've been dealing with some flooding in some areas of Ohio as well.
I believe so. Knock on wood, that has not been affecting my area, thankfully.
I think what really cracked me up was earlier this week. I guess that was yesterday. I turned on the Tigers and Yankees game, and there were snow flurries during first pitch.
Yeah. God bless the Midwest.
So, field doubled up for the restart here after our second caution of the Southtown 250, working lap 23. There you see Tyler Fody and Ethan Stanley will be on the front row for this restart. Fody on the outside in that purple car number 40, Stanley on the inside in the blue egg 91. Probably during our next caution, since I'm assuming we will get another one, we'll get a word with our in-race reporter, David Westergreen. Of course, I said that. Now I've probably jinxed him. He will be the next caution.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get a little bit longer green flag run here. Obviously didn't get very far that last run before the incident on the backstretch. Heading towards the Geico restart zone. Tyler Fody, Ethan Stanley leading the field. Green flag is out. We are back underway here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway. And this time it's the outside lane that gets the move with Josh Adams pushing Tyler Fody. Fody's got to drop down in front of Ethan Stanley. Almost wonder if that might not have been a little bit coordinated.
Yeah, a little bit. Go full Joey Logano. A bit of a okie dokie right there.
Couple of Lake Norman cars now leading that bottom lane. Ryan Schold up to the third position in car number 4. Also on that bottom lane. Chad Frickenfield definitely getting shuffled out on this one. He found himself stuck in the middle. And Jesse Racines, it wasn't that long ago, we saw him spinning through turn 2, and now he's up to the 5th position and leading that outside lane. And Is that Mark Rebillis? No, it's not. It's Ethan Burrell behind him. Rebillis is up there near the front, though. He's in 10th on that bottom lane, about 5 cars back into white and orange.
Yeah, great recovery from him. We saw him almost become the first caution, having to make a great save to keep it pointed the right direction, and now here he is battling for stage points.
Indeed, closing in on that stage, as you mentioned. It'll be the end of lap 30, so 5 laps away. And especially with that playoff cut looming, we'll see who gets up there and tries to get those stage points. Of course, it's a couple of our guys in green locked in with wins already this season that are leading the way right now. Tyler Fode, Ethan Stanley. Sorry, I got a little bit distracted further back. Josh Adams got very out of shape coming out of turn 2 with a push that just caught him a little bit too early, but kept it straight. Definitely seeing a lot more. I mean, we touched on this already, but the bump drafting is a lot more aggressive than we're used to seeing with this next gen car here. Is now you see this 3 wide shaping up. This is about 15th or so on back here. Ethan Burrell's getting pushed out front by Matthew Weeks.
Yeah, everything looks... sorry, Zach, just going to say, everything looks kind of nice and orderly up here, but towards the back, they're getting really crazy with all that 3 wide.
Yeah, it looks like for the most part up front of the teams are kind of finding each other and working together. Of course, the Toyotas from Pro Edge were working together. Get Ethan Burrell out front. Now you see Justin Vandermarl with the push from David Westergreen. And we do have to apologize to Michael Goodman as he works his way up to the front of the field. He's in that 3rd position on the pylon. It still shows him in car number 73, which was his number last week in celebration of his 200th career start. He is back in his traditional car 44 tonight, but we'll get the pylon corrected for next week. He's now in his 201st start. There's old David Westergreen, though, our in-race reporter, leading the way. You know, he told us we could bring him up under green. I don't know, this might... Should we do it now, or do you think he might have a coronary if we did?
Absolutely, let's bring him up right now and be like, wait, you guys brought me up? Fitting as we bring him back down before he would finish that statement.
Fode below the yellow line there. I think he got a bad push there from Ethan Stanley. And they're trying to get that all settled back out. Yeah, it's starting to get a little racy for this stage point now. It'll be this time.
It's all breaking loose.
Everybody's trying to make their move, get those valuable stage points. Here we go. That David Westergreen leading that 2nd group, trying to get out in front of Matthew Weeks.
Oh no!
No! They're wrecking!
Oh, there it is.
Oh.
The whole field's dead. Oh, man.
And the battle for the stage ends in tears.
Wow.
Matthew Weeks won the stage, but for everybody else, at what cost? There's the push. Jesse Racimas to Ethan Burrell to David Westergreen, who then got kind of the block from Matthew Weeks, and then it's all got to pop off from here.
Yeah. That has to be one of the bigger wrecks we've seen this season, and I feel like on this channel in general, that was gnarly.
Well, I said we'd bring him up during the next caution. I think it's showtime. If I can. I'm struggling. I don't know if Chet or David, you might be able to grab him.
Hey, where is he? Oh, all the way down there?
He's all the way down there, which is my pain point on my computer at the moment. I have to be entirely honest.
Fuel.
So, unfortunately, I think I have to take the blame on this one. I said during the next caution, we talked to David Westergreen, and
Yeah.
David, you were the next caution, buddy.
I know. I was going for the stage though. It's fun.
You were. I thought you had a shot at it. You made the move, and then it ended up with you in the wall. What happened, and how bad's the damage?
I don't know yet. We're just now getting on pit road, so it's hooked to the right though. I think we're overall probably pretty done, but I was having a blast, dude. I felt really good. Felt like we were making right moves, trying to go up there and take us to stage. It was fun, man. I got drafted with a bunch of guys that I announced for all week, and it's 7 minutes. That's probably going to end us in terms of overall. But man, I was having fun, dude. This was a blast. I hope you guys were enjoying it. I was trying to take it easy there for a little bit, but led a lap in contention for the stage. I mean, I can't complain about that.
Yeah, you were having a heck of a run.
Yeah, I mean, what were you experiencing in the car, obviously, before that incident with this package?
It really is driving a lot different than it did in the duel. And I know iRacing had the update between our Daytona race and then this race, and that has made things a lot more difficult to handle. You've got very, very tough very tough side drafting going on where, if anybody gets next to you, you just stop them. That's what happened. I got alongside Justin and just stopped him there, and it gave Weeks a little bubble, but we were going to, drive it right up to him, and he threw the block, obviously. I don't think he did anything wrong. I don't think Jesse or Ethan did anything wrong there. Just wound up where I was getting shoved and got turned into the fence. I mean, the runs are big, but they aren't as big as they were. But you can kind of tandem and hook up, and I don't know if you guys have seen that yet, but if you hook up and drive right behind somebody, you can really make it go. So
yeah, we've seen that a little bit. I think some people are still keeping that in the car in the vest, but we've seen it a little bit. Well, David, I'll let you go if you need to debrief with the South Shore boys and make a final decision on whether or not you'll be back out there tonight. But obviously, the door is open if you decide to spend the rest of the evening with us.
I might just do a little bit of that, but I appreciate it, guys.
Right.
Enjoy the broadcast, and shout out to Batflip Podcast, Bite Size Sports, South Shore Racing, and Traders Brewing Company for being on board my team sponsors. They've all been really nice to us. Oh, and Icy Fog and Sam Boutwell. Those guys have been great too.
There you go. That's David Westergreen, in-race reporter. Perhaps his night cut short, but he could be joining us, and we'll be back to the full three-man band for the night, if that is indeed the case. We'll find out for sure momentarily. It sounds like with 7 minutes of damage, especially with the 6-lap rule, that's got to be hard to bounce back from, especially for a guy who isn't racing for points. I don't know that there's got to be a lot for him to gain if he goes back out on track, James.
Yeah, I mean, if you were going for a full season and you needed those points, absolutely, you're definitely gonna go out there and try to stick it out as much as you can. But with Dave, just hopped in to try to get the dub and try to help out whatever South Shore guys he'd be able to. And yeah, I don't know how much he's going to be able to do that with a damaged car. And I believe Nick Massey was also involved in that big one too. In addition to the first caution we saw, or second caution we saw rather. So I just don't know if he's really going to be able to fulfill any of those goals up to the moment.
So now we'll get ready to go back green. This time it'll be Matthew Weeks and Justin Vandermarl who will lead the field to green. Dave, I am going to ask you real quick, because obviously we've been kind of debriefing during these replays. I obviously talked to David Westergreen during this one in particular. I know a couple of guys that stayed out on the previous caution. Did we see any of that this time around?
We still have the top 4 stayed out this time. Weeks, Vandermarl, Hossack, and Gavin Hibbs all stayed out. Everybody else looks like they pitted on lap 32 all the way down.
All right. So that, I know there were a couple of guys that had not pitted yet. I figured they had to pit that time, and indeed they did.
Yes.
So just your top 4 staying out here as we get ready to go back green. Matthew Weeks, Justin Vandermarl leading them back to the green flag here at Talladega.
Ooh.
And it looks like Justin Vandermarl's got to get out front, drop down to the bottom lane with Gavin Hibbs in tow. A little bit of a different look on that 95 tonight with the numbers by Joe's sponsorship.
Yeah, I almost didn't recognize him at first.
It gives Kyle Larson, as the kids would say. It's not quite the same pattern, but the colors.
Yeah, I could see that. It is a very nice game. I do really like it. Very clean.
Very clean. And right now it's clean, and P2 is now, it looks like Matthew Weeks is I don't know if he had an imaginary friend that went with him up top or what happened, but he's got to go to the back here. Tyler Fode has latched onto these top 2. Behind that, double file, Leighton Norgard. One of the first times we've really spoken about him tonight in that bright purple and blue number 12 car.
Yeah, Leighton trying to string together back-to-back good races. Obviously, he was in serious contention for last week's crown jewel. Almost was able to pull off the dub. Still, as you can see, he's orange, so he's still there in the playoff hope. So he really needs to string together those back-to-back good runs right now. Oh, they're second again.
And that is Carlos Acosta involved.
And is that Ty McIntosh that hit him?
I believe it is.
Hmm.
Get a look at the Rebelist Photography replay machine. See what happened here. That's a tough spot. So I think Carlos was not anticipating the run from the outside there from Nick Massey and company. It kind of drifted up the track, and then he caught himself kind of in between the middle and the high lanes and ends up across the nose of Justin Wadsworth in the 6 car. And that's got to squeeze Matthew Weeks into the fence. Jesse Racimus again going to get a piece of it. Ethan Burrell. And there is the 35 car of Ty McIntosh. Takes a pretty heavy shot on the nose there.
Yeah, not a whole lot Ty could do on that. You see smoke. You don't have a whole lot of time to really ascertain where the car in front of you is going to end up. So you really just gotta guess and hope for the best. It's kind of like a penalty kick in soccer. You have no idea what's going to happen, so you're just diving in one direction and hoping that it's the right direction. It was not this time.
It was not. One thing to note, we pondered whether or not David Westergreen would get back out there or not. He is indeed back out there, and he might be our free pass this time, which would put him back on the lead lap. So he's not giving up the ghost just yet in car 09. Dave, do we have any ad reads for the evening?
Let's play a little jingle by Blue Egg here.
All right, let's do it.
To win the Blue Egg, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Fueling big to win big. Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, ooh, big. To win big, you're always in the pole position, leading your brand toward victory lane. Don't spin your wheels, accelerate success with Blue Egg, fueling small businesses to win big. Ooh, win big.
All right, we are watching the Southtown 250. Southtown focuses on college football and racing throughout the year. Going live February 1st. They give them a follow on X and check out their website at mysouthtown.com. Our series sponsor is Belly Up Sports, the Internet Sports Bar. Sports commentary via podcasts, forums, and articles on topics ranging to nearly every sport. Not your usual sports site. Check them out on X or at bellyupsports.com. And those are our reads for tonight, gentlemen.
And thank you as always to our sponsors here on the Elite Racing Network. Bring you all the action here from the Elite Racing League. Again, if you're just tuning in, this is the regular season finale for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series here at the virtual Talladega Super Speedway, closing in on roughly the halfway mark of tonight's contest. Zach Evans here with James Watson in the booth. We've got David Westergreen, our in-race reporter, who is back on the lead lap after being involved in our third caution of the evening. Of course, now we're working caution number 4, 1 lap to green before we go back racing. There's a look again for those tuning in at our playoff scenarios as they are color-coded in the scoring pylon. Green drivers locked in with victories earlier this season. Yellow guys entered the evening above 16th in points and currently in the playoff grid. Orange drivers hoping to crack their way into that top 16 in points or win the race and get a playoff berth. And then red drivers cannot get into the top 60 in points, so they need to win, and they need to make sure they have enough points to at least be top 25 in points in order for that win to make them eligible for the playoffs. Blue drivers cannot mathematically get back into the top 25 in points. They will not be part of our playoff competition this season here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. I almost sounded professional in all of that.
Who the fuck it?
Oh boy. So getting ready to go back green here. It's going to be Kyle Hanshaw and Johnny Thomas on the front row for this restart. Hanshaw in the 46 on the outside, Johnny Thomas on the inside in car 83. Closing in on the Geico restart zone. And we are back underway. Big jump, maybe too good of a jump there for Kyle Hanshaw. Oh,
Yeah, that was strange.
that was, and then he turned left right when it looked like maybe Dustin Dewar was going to give him a push and try to get him out front. So now Dustin Dewar leading that outside lane. That was an odd little restart there.
Yeah, that nearly ended very badly, very quickly.
Nevertheless, it's what it is going to do is, like I say, give Dustin Dewar the lead of that outside lane. Kyle Hanshaw leading the inside with Johnny Thomas offering the push. Again, I think you're going to see that a lot on these restarts. Those are Kyle Hanshaw racing teammates. Johnny Thomas and, of course, Kyle Hanshaw. So I'm sure that was the old
The okie dokie.
fever.
As
The okie dokie, but it was, we've definitely seen smoother okie dokies at Talladega, for sure. Now, ooh, Dustin Dewar slides up the hill a little bit. That's got to really stack up this outside lane. I think Justin Wadsworth had thoughts of, or excuse me, Justin Fortner, my mistake, of dipping to the inside there and backed out of it, and that's really just kind of set this outside lane back significantly.
Yeah, thankfully for them, you see the 7 jumping up to take over the lead on that outside lane. Otherwise, it looked like we were going to get a full-on single-file train at the bottom.
And talking about that 7 car, I mean, it wasn't that long ago. He was 2 laps down after disconnecting from the server. He's back on the lead lap as Ray Bracey, and now he's in the trying to work his way into the top 5 in that car.
Yeah, that was a great time move by Ray, and now he's got his South Shore teammate right there in front of him. South Shore leading that middle line.
Yep, Nick Massey leading Ray Bracey in the middle lane. Then you have Josh Adams and Gavin Hibbs on the outside, 3 wide up front here at Talladega. And there's Gerald Campbell in the 3rd car on that outside lane. I do want to take a moment. I know Dave, Gerald was talking to you before the race, and he asked us to kind of spare a thought for him and his family. Dave, since I know that was a conversation with you, I'll kind of let you explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, he said unfortunately his sister had lost her battle to cancer. I never know how you really put that in words. She's at peace now, but I know he had a lot of time dealing with that, and still kind of dealing with it with a heavy heart tonight when he's racing. But he wanted us to give a shout out to his family who are watching tonight.
And certainly our thoughts to Gerald's family with that. I think most of us have had some kind of experience one way or another with cancer, unfortunately. I know personally I have, and I know how difficult that can be, and definitely Gerald and the family all the best in that.
Yeah,
As it is right now, Gerald. Yep, go ahead.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I've lost both of my grandparents to cancer, and it never gets easy. Never gets any easier.
It really doesn't. It really doesn't. But Gerald having a strong run at the moment in 00, and hopefully he can bring that car home with a good finish. Maybe even be up here talking to us at the end of the night. Right now, Ethan Stanley leading the way. Nick Massey in second. There you see it kind of singling out up front again. Of course, I say that, and Gavin Hibbs says, I'd rather not. I'm going to start this second lane with R.C. Enerson providing support. And Josh Adams might take it 3 wide again. I think they're going to have to now because Scott Crump has stuck it in the middle, and that's got to shuffle Gerald Campbell out at the very least.
Not quite. He's got a few following him right there.
Out of field, we'll have to get around this lap car staying on the bottom. Trey Holmes in the 23 car. Yep, we'll be crossing over to the halfway mark after this lap as Gavin Hibbs leading at the moment with the push from Josh Adams.
I took care of that math for you because I know you don't like it.
I was told there would be no, of all the nights, there's lots of math that usually comes with a regular season finale. I'm going to be happy to let Chad handle that after the race. Now Josh Adams with the push from Kyle Hanshaw getting out front. Gavin Hibbs in that bottom lane's going to fall back. Johnny Thomas up to third. We saw him involved in an incident earlier, and he's back up front. And I think that just shows how strong these runs are on this Super Speedway package this evening, James.
Yeah, and I'm just curious on what happened to the 95. Like, all of a sudden, just lost a lot of momentum. That really stacked the inside lineup. And now half of that top line has dropped down. Oh. And here's Josh Adams getting put into the sucker hole.
Yep. Josh Adams falling back in car 22. Kyle Hanshaw leading the way. Johnny Thomas in second. Tyler Fode third. Gerald Campbell in fourth. And Ethan Stanley and Gavin Hibbs are kind of side by side. Right? Yeah. Now, let's see, that's Blake Reynolds starting up the third lane there in the red number 66 with Jonathan Cutlett behind him, Josh Adams, Scott Crump, and one of the shift cars. I believe that might be Seth Rawls.
Ooh. Big loss of momentum there in the middle of the field.
Yeah, and you can see it's almost kind of broken off into two separate packs at this point. We'll see if that second pack is able to close back in or not, but you kind of touched on that at the start of the race, James, that with this next-gen platform, sometimes it can be deceptively easy to lose the pull of that draft.
Yeah, thankfully it seems like they've adjusted it so it's not quite as ridiculous, but gracious, man, like at Daytona, it was terrible. It feels like you just blinked wrong and you were losing the draft. And if you were at the back end of your line, it was just so easy to just drop off without doing anything different, without doing anything wrong. And side drafting had the ability to kill both cars, because I just see the side draft is completely shut down both lines behind the car side drafting. So thankfully it seems to be a little more balanced and a little more sensible. But yeah, Daytona was not pleasant.
$52 laps on the board here out of 94 into Southtown 250. Nick Massey and the push from Blake Reynolds to get out front now.
Oh, what a move! What a move by Blake moves to pull out from right behind Massey and take over the lead on that inside. Oh, and Nick Massey is... Oh, no, Jonathan Cutlett kept jumping down to give him some help. Otherwise, Debo was about to be at the back.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same thing you were. It looked like Nick Massey was about to get drop kicked all the way to the back of this pack, but reinforcements came in a hurry, fortunately, and he'll stay around that top 10 range. But Blake Reynolds now out front. Kyle Hanshaw behind him.
We see the lead pack is starting to catch up to our in-race reporter and Ethan Burrell. Obviously, Ethan got major damage himself, and yeah, both of those cars are just doing the best they can right now.
Here you see from the rear bumper of, well, okay, so we switched to Ethan Burrell's. Okay. That scared me for a little bit. I thought we were still on Westergreen's car, and Burrell had blinked out. And I was very concerned. So this is the pack approaching Ethan Burrell.
Given the shape of that pizza box, I hope Domino's will give him one of those emergency pizzas they've been advertising as of late.
That's just good sponsor plugging right there.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Domino's. And here, Tyler Cody coming out of nowhere to take the lead. Into that lead pack. Like Cody was like third car outside, then just pulled that move and got himself to the lead. Now here's Nick Massey the lead with the help of Cutlip.
It's wild how, I swear, every time we have one of these super speedway races with the next-gen car here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series, it seems like with iRacing constantly updating and evolving, every race ends up different. I mean, even from one Talladega race to the next, the updates just change the dynamic of all of these races. They're never the same, and we're always just kind of learning what's going to happen each time we tune in.
Ooh, it's got a bit hairy with the. Like Westergreen was in front of Ethan Stanley too. Oh man, they're trying to get ahead of the Westergreen and Burrell as best as they can. It's causing a big stack up right here.
So now it looks like these front, this second pack has completely lost the front 7 or so. And David Westergreen is going to have to push Ethan Stanley and try to close that gap. There you see the front 7 running nose to tail.
Yeah, that is the last thing you want to see for Stanley. They are gone.
I mean, there you see the gap growing these last couple of laps. And that's definitely raising the blood pressure in that second pack. The guys that are on the lead lap are watching those front 7 drive away. And the frustration is definitely growing for those drivers.
I think it's reached the zenith because they're 100% out of the draft. They're gonna need a caution or something crazy to happen right now. 2 seconds back.
Now we see that second pack starting to single file out. We'll see if they were able to eat into it at all this time, or if they continue to lose ground. And I think next lap will be our best judge of how that pack will close in. But right now, Ray Bracey leading that second pack, trying to close the gap. There you see Blake Reynolds at the tail of this front 7. Nick Massey leading the way. Cutlip in second. Tyler Fody third. Gerald Campbell fourth. Scott Crump fifth. Josh Adams sixth. Blake Reynolds seventh. They're the ones that have managed to escape that pack. And we'll see this time by. There's Blake Reynolds across the line, and then Ray Bracey still losing ground, 0.4 of a second. That's a ton.
Yeah. And like even with them starting to single file out here, they're still losing time hand over fist. Even with it being a much bigger pack, this top 7, they're just absolutely leaving them in the dust. It's now upwards of 3 seconds. And this is what I often see too, is because there's so much drag and downforce on these cars because of these giant spoilers. Shout out Dale Jr. Yes, the moment you get out of the pack and you have all that air being dumped on the lead car of that second pack, you just completely lose everything. It's like you're not even running the same car. You just slow down so much. And typically, you also see a lot less cautions from races like this when they start to turn into this one pack and then other pack, because that second pack is spending so much time and energy trying to be as fast as they can to catch up to that other pack. They're not really running as aggressively. They're not making the moves they would be making if everyone was in one big pack. So you tend to not see that big caution that everyone needs to bunch back up. And it's just a self-fulfilling prophecy, honestly.
And of course, that's going to increase the likelihood of a green flag pit stop if that is something we have to consider here. Sounds like there may be some concerns about blinking for the 89 car of Brent Jones as well. I thought I had seen that on my end a couple of times, and now he has been advised about that from race control. So hopefully that straightens itself out for Brent Jones, having a pretty solid showing tonight, right now in the 14th position. And we continue to see, I mean, the second pack has tried a little bit of everything at this point. They've tried singling out, they've tried going 2 and 3 wide. It seems like no matter what, it's just not really working.
Yep, which means the only thing they've yet to try is sacrifice. It's like, alright Stanley, you're getting put up into the wall. Sacrifice for the greater good of everyone else in that second pack. The law requires I say that this is a joke.
Here you see the leaders negotiating around Ryan Schuld and Carlos Acosta. That will put both of those drivers 1 lap down. Ryan Schuld will be in the free pass position now, should we get a caution. I was curious to see if they were able to latch on with the draft. It feels like they're just going to fall in that awkward range where they're not fast enough to stay with those leaders, which means they're not going to be fast enough to help that second pack when they get to them either.
A lot of unrest in that second pack.
Yeah, the second pack is getting very agitated. Very agitated. Wanting a little more teamwork to try and close that gap, but I mean, I just don't know what they can do at this point.
Well, like I said, my joke strategy may be the winning strategy on that. The little bit of move making there towards the middle of that second pack with Jeff Green and Kyle Hanshaw.
I mean, trying to keep an eye on this, I don't know, as far as the leader, I don't think you could have a better situation than Ray Bracey. It looks like he's holding a pretty steady wheel, keep it on the yellow line. I'm not, obviously he doesn't have any damage because he's been, he had to get those laps back after disconnecting. It wasn't like he was involved in an incident to lose those laps. I'm not sure you can ask for anything more out of him as far as closing that gap.
Hey, they had the first green lap.
Yeah, that's progress. And at some point, they're probably going to start getting a sniff of that draft from those two lapped cars, Ryan Schulte, Carlos Acosta, but then they're going to have to negotiate around them as well, and hopefully that doesn't undo that progress.
Now, the thing I'm kind of curious about right now is if you're our in-race reporter, what do you want to happen? Because he has one car leading the lead pack, and then he has two cars leading the second pack. So, is Westergreen wanting a caution? Is he wanting it to stay green? Problem is for Nick Massey is that he has no help, and he's got a couple of Lake Norman cars behind him, one Pro Edge. Honestly, a fairly decent split team-wise of guys sitting up there in that lead pack.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, if it stays that top 7, especially with the success we saw of the tandem during our practices, I think it would be one of those groups that has two cars that would ultimately be sitting pretty in that situation, which
would be Lake Norman with Fody and Crump.
Yeah, that would be your ticket for sure. Because I think everybody else is kind of on an island. Josh Adams is the only shift car. Blake Relch is the only Channel 199 car. Nick Massey's the only South Shore. Jonathan Cutlip is the only fueled up car. And Gerald Campbell is the only do good car. Now, Blake Reynolds has slipped off just a little bit here. Now he's closing back in. So he did not fall out of the bubble.
Yeah, anytime you start to get that little bit of a gap in this car, your heart starts to sink. It's right there down in your stomach. You're like, no, please, no, don't let me lose.
Massey and Adams are 6 laps shorter than on fuel than the other 5.
So now the question becomes, for those other 5, do you pit with them or do you spit them out?
I mean, I feel like a good choice is for everyone to pit, because having more numbers in your pack is better on keeping that second pack at bay. But then I don't know how much difference it's really going to make, because of the fact that those two are so much shorter on fuel that they're still going to probably come out a decent gap behind the rest of this lead pack that has to sit in their box shorter by taking less fuel. So I think Adams and Massey would probably just barely come out off of the draft of the 5 that aren't as short on fuel.
Well, I think the other thing, and I don't know, obviously we won't know until we know, but I'd be afraid to give those 2 cars the chance to just tandem. unobstructed, right? I think that could be the kind of thing that if you gave them that opportunity, it could lose you the race. So I think altogether, with all those factors in mind, you probably want this group of 7 to all pit together.
Sounds like Ray Bracey says they're coming in 4 laps. And he pitted on lap 32 as well, so.
And see, the problem for Ray Bracey is he's on the other shoe. You know, can he get enough cars out of that second pack to pit with him? Because they're not in the same boat, right? They're going to want to keep as many of their numbers together as they can. And if they lose Ray Bracey, that's not a lot of skin off their back for the most part. So can he get enough people to pit with him? That's the balancing act here at Talladega, Daytona, the super speedways. You don't want to pit with too few. You don't want to pit with too many. Because if you start pitting with too many, then you start running into people on pit entry and all of that. We saw some of that in the Daytona 500.
Massey's coming this time. Bodie and Cutlip said they're coming with him, so.
Well, that answers that question.
We'll see.
Yep,
Blake
yeah, they all
Reynolds going
come.
to stay? No, they're all coming.
All the top 7 will pit together here. And Nick Massey had one of the first stalls, so he had to commit.
Oh, we got more.
Heavily.
We got a few from the second pack coming in too.
That's Ethan Stanley, Gavin Higgins, Ray Bracey. I believe that was Jesse Racimas, and then there's one more. I can't quite make out who that is. Maybe Justin Portner? No, Justin Portner I think is still on track. So
Yeah,
we'll see.
organized
There's
coming
your
out.
Group of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. The top 4 got out a little bit better.
Yeah, it's just as I hypothesized. Adams and Massey have a bigger gap to the top 4 because of that extra fuel they had to take, and I think they might already be out of draft range.
So here, there's contact. Jeff Green into the inside wall on pit entry. And that's not going to bring out caution. Tough break for Jeff Green there, and it looks like he's got to call it. No? Okay, maybe he just blinked out there. Right now, R.C. Enerson, leader on track, obviously has not pitted yet. Chris Wright pushing him at the moment. Sounds like the shift cars will be pitting this time. There you see R.C. Enerson and Chris Wright ducking onto pit road. Carlos Acosta also making their way to pit road. Working through these green flag pit stops with 20 laps to go. And now this puts, well, there you see Justin Wadsworth. This is Michael Hosek. This is Chad Frankenfield. Paul Mikolajczyk all coming to pit road.
Wow, and I just saw everyone go by. The top 4 have a huge gap over Massey and Adams already. Or the soon-to-be top 4, rather.
Yeah, it looks like it's about 5 seconds on the pylon once we cycle through, because there you see Michael Goodman pulling onto pit road along with Ryan Schold. Goodman was your leader, so that's got to allow Jonathan Cutlip. This is your lead 4 now, and just like you said, those 4 were able to get away from Nick Massey and Josh Adams by taking on less fuel. And yeah, that's pretty much. We'll see if anybody else can form together a pack and try to close this gap. I mean, you can see in the pylon there, it's 4 seconds back to Nick Massey, Josh Adams, Gerald Campbell, Chris Wright.
Just joined the group.
Speed penalty. Chris Wright is not in that group. Yeah, Chris Wright's in the third group. So who was that in the second group with?
I believe that's Caleb Pecumer, who's a lap down.
Okay.
All these South Shore cars look alike.
They sure do.
It's almost as if one person does most of the paints on that team.
I don't think that's the case.
I don't believe that's the case for these specific schemes, but I feel like there's one guy that's responsible for a lot of the South Shore cars. I don't know what makes me think that. As you hear a random meow, Siamese meow in the distance.
Yeah, this'll. Yep, there you go. Hi, Bojo. Watch quick shifts.
Meow.
That reminds me, I've got to play his spot.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna get the chance here.
We'll catch it before we do the interviews if we don't get it before the end of the race.
That'll work.
I mean, if there's ever time to go full Fox and do a commercial break with less than 20 to go, I think probably now's the time, since I don't know how racy and aggressive they're going to be with all these small packs.
Okay.
Have you ever just forgot to hold the brakes during a wreck? Are they just not able to pronounce your name in a race?
Paul Michelager.
Have you ever been wrecked by Chad? Hi, I'm Ray Bracey, and I'm here to share with you Quick Shifts. Watch all the highlights, lowlights, and other shenanigans in the top racing leagues, such as the Elite Racing League, but don't just take my word for it.
Before Quick Shifts, I was depressed. I wasn't able to relive my favorite moments from each race. Now with Quick Shifts, I can go out there and listen to all my favorite banter from the race while seeing all the crashes and good racing once again.
I don't remember life before Quick Shifts. I had to listen to Cameron Proke and Ty Mac and Cheese recap Oscar every week in the 3-Wide TV booth, but now, thanks to Quick Shifts, I actually enjoy my Oscar recaps.
So try Quick Shifts. You suffered through it one time, why not suffer through it again? Side effects of Quick Shifts include constipation, diarrhea, dizziness, dry mouth, abnormal heart rhythms, internal bleeding, numb tongue, unfiltered honesty, loud hiccups, laughing uncontrollably, mandatory dancing, midnight munchies, blue urine, red urine, no urine, and many more.
We are back here with 15 laps to go in the Southtown 250, the regular season finale for the Belly Up Sports Cup Series here in the Elite Racing League. And there you see Jonathan Cutlip, Tyler Fody, Blake Reynolds, Scott Crump. The front four have broken out after this round of green flag pit stops, and ever so slightly adding to the gap back to Nick Massey, Josh Adams, and Gerald Campbell, with tag team partner Caleb Pecumer in that second group. Barring a caution, I believe the battle for the win's got to come out of this group of four at the front of the field.
Yeah, I think Jonathan Cutlip and Blake Reynolds are about to become the best of friends, because they're going to have no choice, because they're dealing with two Lake Norman cars here. So if they want any hope of beating out the tandem, they're going to have to work really well together really quickly, as it's only a matter of time before we see that 40 and that 90 car jump out of line.
And what I'm wondering here for this second group is, obviously there's not a lot they can do about it, but you see these front four are all guys who have wins and have locked their way into the playoffs, and everybody in that second group is on the outside looking in. And obviously I'm not in a great position to do the math here in real time, but I think especially for somebody like Gerald Campbell, even with a top 7 run, I think there's just too many guys that I don't think you're going to make up enough points even with a top 10 finish to get yourself above the cutoff if you finish 7th here. So it's got to be a really helpless feeling for those drivers to watch those leaders drive away right now.
Yeah, can we see the points graphic up here for a second again? Yeah.
So, yeah, coming into, you know, a guy like Gerald Campbell, I mean, he's not even on the graphic because he entered the night 22nd in points, 28 points below the cutoff, and that's a lot of points to try and make up, especially if you know, not even a top 5 finish.
You're going to need somebody at the bottom there. You're going to need like Hogan or Hibbs or Rawls to have a really bad day too to be able to take their spot.
100%. And I mean, Hibbs is 18th at the moment, which is not terrific, but certainly not 30 points worth of deficit. Let's see, Garrison Hogan.
Garrison Hogan's at 9th.
9th, yeah.
Beth Rawls is 15th. Really, until you get to Chad.
So
Chad's the one that's the lowest. He's at 27th right now. It's far enough up there, he may be okay.
He might be okay. Like you say, he was 41 points to the good coming into the night, so he might be in decent shape.
The guy who's going to gain the most points would be Massey, and he was down at 23 points below Hibbs. So he's going to need more points than are what are possible to get to Chad.
Yeah.
And that ends the math portion of this segment.
Yeah, I promise I will not do any more math, but based on what limited math we've done there, I think this is, barring a caution, turned into a rather anticlimactic conclusion to the regular season. Drivers calling out for debris on the racetrack, which, you know, if this weren't iRacing, that'd be a compelling argument for a caution.
A little bit of rain on turn 3.
The only real spoiler we
believe
have would
when
be
I-
Hogan. Hogan could win his way in.
Yeah,
Of course, he's already in, but I guess. But so that doesn't matter. Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't think we have a Cinderella story here anywhere.
Yeah, the only way we get one
Is one of the
is
orange
for-
guys. Yeah.
Yeah, which at this point would require the top 4 to somehow put themselves in the safer barrier, which isn't likely. However, stranger things have happened. This is Talladega, and you are going to be going for a win here. So you never know. One bad push, one bad block, all 4 cars are in the infield. Now, obviously, we're not advocating for any of that to happen. Just saying what is a possibility. Because we have to figure out something to talk about here for the next 7 lap before they finally start to make their moves.
you know, I had resisted the urge earlier in the night when we were seeing the runs play out that kind of had the vibe of a early 90s super speedway race, especially at Talladega. Now it really has the vibe of a early 90s super speedway race.
Absolutely. Just minus the handling issues.
Yes. Yes.
Morrell and Westergreen are going to attempt to engage the slingshot and help Massey.
Okay.
They go high.
We got it right up there, right?
Yep.
Yeah. All right.
And then I believe Justin Fortner said slingshot disengage
Yeah,
right
he
there.
did not want to play.
There was definitely some miscommunication there, I believe. So there goes that attempt. They had to try something, right?
An attempt was made.
They got him
we
as
can be sure of.
close as they've been in a long time, at least to stop the bleeding as much, but still not on the positive side.
Yeah. 'Tis but a scratch. Merely a flesh wound.
Yeah, the equivalent of putting Band-Aid over missing limb.
So do the top 4 go for a win, or do they just happy to cross 1 through 4 and go to the playoffs?
Well, it all relies on. Now, I don't know this off the top of my head, so forgive me. But are there bonus points entering the playoffs for race wins?
Yes, there's a playoff point, right?
Well, there you have it.
So I think you gotta get to the white, and then to make sure if you frankly screw it up, you don't bring out a caution, right?
Yeah.
Get to the white, and then it's probably gonna get real stupid, if I had to guess.
Current playoff points, Ethan Stanley has 23, is leading. He's not in this group. Weeks is second with 11 playoff points, also not in this group. Blake Reynolds is third with 11 points, so he would want the playoff point.
Yeah, Bodie and Blake are going to want the playoff point, and also let's not forget that Cutlip and Crump have not won this season, and it's also been quite a long time for Jonathan Cutlip since the last time that 5 car has been in victory lane. So there's still going to be a lot of fighting going on for this race win.
Yeah, that's fair. You do see him in green, but I guess for a couple of these guys, they've accumulated enough points to clinch their playoff spot. They have not won their way in, which is a fair point to make. There you see our list of winners this season as we're approaching 3 laps to go. Ethan Stanley, winner of the last 2.
And even still, regardless on whether or not a race win helps with anything, they're race car drivers. If there's a win on offer, you're going to do everything you can to bring that home because it is a race win. Like, you don't need...
Jonathan Cutlip.
Go on, Zach.
I was going to say, for Jonathan Cutlip, he's a one-time winner in the series, and that win came here at Talladega in the 2023 B season.
Oh, look who they're coming up near, though. Oh, no.
So what happens here?
Chad, stay behind Hossack.
That's Hossack, Frankenfield, Wadsworth, and Mikolajczyk. So that brings us to...
Man, Scott Crump got the shaft. It was like what I mentioned earlier. The car on the back end of a line is so susceptible to losing the draft, especially if there's any side drafting. Look at that. Scott Crump completely off of the lead pack, and he's still in the middle of that lap down pack. So it's just a 3-way battle now. Tyler Fody has lost his partner.
Well, they're closing back in now, which, and now we're going to see, will anybody play some dirty pool out of these lap down cars here? Do we have any alliances amongst those lap down cars? Final lap here. We're not going to get caution now. It's going to be a race 2 to checker. Jonathan Cutlip leading the way. Tyler Fody second. And we'll see, does anybody jump out? Anybody try to make a move? Right now, oh, and we've still got more lap cars approaching as well. Here comes Scott Crump. He'll have Justin Wadsworth go with him.
And everyone goes up to block that. Block-ish it, at least.
And Scott Crump jumps back down. He's got to try to get the toe off of Blake Reynolds. I don't know if he's going to have enough time, though. They work around Justin Vandermarl out of turn 4 through to Trioval. Still Cutlip leading the
Whoa.
way. Fody makes the move. Reynolds jumps down, back up. It's got to be a race for second behind Cutlip. Are they going to be able to get to him? No! Jonathan Cutlip wins at Talladega.
The winless streak is over. Heck of a job by Jonathan Cutlip.
More than a year in the making, Jonathan Cutlip back to victory lane in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. Does it again at Talladega. Gives him that valuable win going into the playoffs next time out.
Popular win, too. You see a lot of the competition giving Cutlip congratulatory bumps. Obviously, Cutlip, when I first heard about the winless streak, I was always surprised because Cutlip is always ridiculously quick and always up there battling for the front. So I couldn't believe it had been that long since Cutlip had been to victory lane.
November 1st, 2023, the date of
Wow.
that last win.
So a year and a half. That is
Yeah.
incredible.
There you see the results. Jonathan Cutlip, Blake Reynolds, Tyler Fody. Your top three: Scott Crump, Nick Massey, Gerald Campbell, Chris Wright, Garrison Hogan, Ethan Stanley, Josh Adams. Rounding out the top 10. Hopefully we'll get a, before we're able to go off the air tonight, we'll be able to get you that playoff update for certain. As we take a look at the rest of the field, and hopefully we'll get to hear from our top three here shortly from the Southtown 250 at Talladega. Of course, the playoffs start next week on the Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. We should have our, we'll definitely have our full booth back. I know David Westergreen's not going to run a road course race. Because if he'd like to run the road course races, he has to run.
Yeah, he'll try to see if he can just take the oval instead.
So, of course, the playoff will start with the Roval. Then you'll have Dover and Atlanta also in the first round. Then the field will whittle down from 16 to 10 for North Wilkesboro, Iowa, and Homestead before the championship race at Las Vegas. And it looks like our finishers are starting to trickle in now. David has joined the waiting room. So you know what? Sure, David. If you're going to join the waiting room, you can join us for the interviews. How's that sound?
That sounds great. I said in the booth. I've been talking about Cutlip winning for 2 years now, and I was
You have.
you
It's
know,
big
it's one race that I'm not broadcasting.
Go figure. But nevertheless, we'll start our interviews here, and we'll first bring in third place finisher Tyler Fody. And Fody, that definitely a little bit of a strange ending to this one. I think you had to be a little bit disappointed to lose your tag team partner right there at the end, going around the lap traffic. Did you really have anything you could do there on that last lap without Scott Crump up there?
Yeah, I kind of choked it away. Losing Scott sucked, but we were you could tandem for a short time with this car, and I just mistimed it. I saw the lapper coming up into 3 and 4 there. I think Vandermeer, and I knew John was going to get a run, and I was trying to time it. We were all kind of dragging down the back straight, kind of stacking it up, and then trying to go. By the time we got to 3, I was just a little too late, jumping back to the wide open, and it let John get a little bit ahead of me, and then he could use that slipstream, and I could just never get back to his bumper. But had I timed it and got on it sooner and locked with him, Blake or no one behind us would have been able to get to us. So I'm a little disappointed in myself there for kind of mistiming that, because I think had I got to John's bumper entering 3 there, we would have just tandemed away, and I could have been one-on-one. But third place, we'll take it.
You want me to ask him a question?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. Tyler, I didn't see you very much out there tonight, but I know you had a good run. How did how did it change when the field kind of split apart there for you? I know on our end we were all trying to catch up, but you were obviously in that first group. So once everything split apart, what was your kind of realization that hey, it was going to be between you and just a couple of guys?
Yeah, I don't remember when exactly it was, but we had 7 of us kind of break off there, and when that happened, just the front 3, Cutlip, I think it was Blake and myself, we just locked in, kind of just kept locking with each other down the straights, and you only really need 3 to 4 cars kind of synchronized, and you can really pull away. And yeah, just kind of bolted with that group, and yeah, I was just working with them, and I thought it was still going to be about 6 or 7 of us, but we kind of lost half the group, so it honestly worked out a little better having only 4 there at the end. Just mistimed a few things at the end there, but yeah, it made it a lot easier, that's for sure.
Of course, now regular season behind us, playoffs ahead, starting with the Roval next week. But I do kind of want to ask, after what you've seen tonight, we do have Atlanta in this first round of the playoffs. How do you think this package will play at Atlanta, with it being the shorter of the super speedways?
Yeah, that I don't know if I don't think you're going to see tandems kind of pulling away, getting big runs, just because the track it's a lot skinnier, shorter, and I feel like we're just going to be all on top of each other. But I don't know. I mean, it's you go 3 wide there, you might really start slowing everyone down. So we'll see. But I think it's going to definitely be a little different than what we're used to. So just going to have to wait and see.
And Fody, any shout outs for us here tonight before we send you off?
Yeah, like Norman guys, Scott there, Stanley, Justin, Gavel. Always fun running with them. Shout out to Cutlip, I guess, for winning this thing on me. But and shout out to him for doing our paint schemes, JD Designs, doing all of our stuff. So yeah, it was fun. But yeah, we'll look to be a couple spots better next time.
And there you have it, Tyler Fody, 3rd place finisher tonight. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time at the Roval.
Yep, appreciate it.
So next up, we will go to our runner-up this evening, Blake Reynolds. Blake, 2nd place finish tonight, and definitely that long green flag run really shook things up and kind of left a small group of guys fighting for the win there at the end. Is there anything you could have done different from your perspective to gain that extra spot this evening?
Not really. You know, when you have so few cars, you know, runs are kind of rare at that point. And honestly, I think it was 7 cars broke away there once they were side drafting each other right at the start of that last caution, or the start of the last green flag run. That pack, they were just side drafting each other so hard they lost us, and then we got kind of filed out. And John Cutlip, he knew exactly how to keep the mow up, and I like to call it like the single file etiquette, where you know you just time the run off the corner, you get the run down the straightaway, then the 2nd place car can just cool their car in the middle of the corner, and everyone in the line has to kind of cooperate and build that run, and that's exactly what we did. And it played out perfect. We pulled 10 and 11 seconds by the end of the race. So at the end it was 4 of us, and I was working with John all night. And I knew I had the 2 Lake Norman cars. It was Fody and Crump, and you know John did such a good job all night. I just was like, I'm going to help him win. So that's what I did. I just tried to not build any run to Fody, and I got him right at the line there. I side drafted him just right, and John got the win.
Well, that puts a bow on the regular season. Now it's time to focus on the playoffs. Of course, Roval next time out in 1 week's time. How do you feel going into that race to start the playoffs?
I'm pretty so-so on the Roval. Like some race, like I say some races, some years, I'm good, and some years I'm not. I run in another league called FTF, and that seems to be how it goes. Whether it's the next gen or the B car or whatever. So I'm gonna say I'm gonna be good. I think Stanley would be good. He seems to be good on the road courses. But I'll try my best. I'll show up and give it my all. I don't actually know the format here, how many races. I didn't even know the playoffs started next week, so I'm just learning that.
There you go. So the first round, it goes from 16 drivers in the first round. The first round is the Roval, Dover, and New Atlanta. So you'll get to go super speedway racing one more time, and Dover is its own unique animal, of course, the Monster Mile. And then the round of 10 after that goes from 16 to 10, and that'll be Wilkesboro, Iowa, and Homestead. So a couple of short tracks, and then Homestead. And in the finale, the championship 4 will race at Vegas. So now,
Nice.
now that you have the road to the championship laid out for you, how's that sound?
That sounds pretty fun, Charlotte. Yeah, Roval, Dover, Atlanta. That's a pretty good stretch of tracks. I like North Wilkesboro. I like Iowa. I kind of suck at Homestead, but I think every racer likes Homestead. And then Vegas, depends on the setup. If it's iRacing fixed, but we'll see what Chad cooks up for that setup. Or I don't even know if we use fixed sets. I think we do.
Typically, it's the iRacing baseline for the tracks. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know if we do custom fixed or whatever. But oh well, shout out to Channel 199 Sim Racing, Track Racer Simulation, Racecraft. Shout out to Garrison Hogan and Paul Mikolajczyk. They were in the race tonight. That's all I'll say.
Hey, Garrison got top 10. Garrison got top 10.
But was he with my pack?
No.
I don't think so.
He was not. He was not there to help you when you needed it most.
He's going to hate I said that. Yeah, shout out to John for the dub, getting him solidly in the playoffs. A firm handshake on that. And then, thank you all for the broadcast. Thanks for Chad and everyone put this on. This is a fun rookie season for me so far, despite my up and downs.
Absolutely. Well, you got those shout outs in, so we'll let you go. Congratulations, and we'll see you come playoff time next week at the Roval.
Thank y'all.
So that is Blake Reynolds, runner-up tonight, and that leaves us nobody else to talk to but the winner, Jonathan Cutlett, back in victory lane here in the Belly Up Sports Cup Series. And I know it was definitely a unique way this one played out, but it has to feel good to be back in victory lane, John.
Oh yeah, for sure. We finally checked it off this year.
Yeah, John. I mean,
go ahead. I was just gonna say, how did it kind of play out from your perspective over that last long green flag run?
Yeah, I'm not even sure how it happened. We just ended up taking a huge surge of momentum, and we were able to pop the little bubble of air behind us, and we stayed committed to each other, and we were just able to work ourselves away from the rest of the field and just had a 5-car breakaway.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I've been talking about you breaking that drought and grabbing this win for, a year and a half now, basically. And it's funny to me that it's in the one race I wasn't actually announcing this season. So, I really am excited for you. I feel like it's been a long time coming. Did you think it was going to be at Talladega, though?
Yeah, we have a little bit of an inside joke that I'm a bit of a plate merchant, so I'm happy to get a win, but I kind of wish it was at a different track just to, not be considered Austin Hill, but, here we are, and we'll take it.
Well, I do think, given that, right, and Zach and just talked about Blake about this, you're going into the playoffs with this big surge of momentum, and we know you're fast and you have the pace to go out and win some of these races on the tracks that are not plate tracks. But in that aspect, you also have Atlanta, the new Atlanta with the plate package coming up as well. So in that case, does that give you some confidence for this first round that you can go out there and maybe pick up another win?
It's hard to say. Obviously, it's very hard to have all the things line up and grab a win. Luckily, tonight had the things line up As far as the next few races outside of Atlanta, I'm not really sure what's stacking up on the schedule. I think I saw Dover was the second race.
Yes.
We usually run pretty well at Dover. Hopefully the track is a little bit on the looser side because it has a tendency to swing to extremes. So like if you're tight, you're tight. If you're loose, you're pretty much wrecking. And I enjoy being loose there, so I'm hoping that's a good track for us, but time will tell with that. And as far as Atlanta, this package is really difficult now as far as trying to decide your own future, so it's going to be a lot of pretty much what you saw tonight and hoping that you're with the right people and you can make moves as far as just keeping yourself up front and out of danger.
Well, with that,
before
John.
we-
Okay. My bad.
Nope, you're good. You were gonna say the same thing I was.
Yeah. You got any shout outs for us, John?
Shout out to Race CPI, great group of open setup builders. Shout out to my team over here, Field Up Racing. They were super happy to finally see me cross this one off and get a win this season. They've been pulling for me the entire year, and it's nice to finally be able to give that back to them. Shout out to you guys, Dave, David, James, and Zach. David specifically, I know you've been wanting to see me get this win for so long, and I'm finally happy to be here with you to celebrate that. Shout out to my mom. She was watching. She was super happy. This is a bit of an early birthday gift for her, so that's cool to get to in 1 week. But yeah, we're just gonna have to see how we do in the playoffs coming up.
Well, there you have it. That's Jonathan Cutlip, winner tonight in the Southtown 250. Congratulations and best of luck in the playoffs moving forward.
Thank you.
And with that, since we did bring you up, David, of course, not the night you hoped for, and certainly you ended up kind of on the wrong side of that long green flag run, didn't get a chance to really fix any more of that damage. But overall, what did you think of the evening from the cockpit?
And one more caution, we would have been right back in it. But it was really fun. I had a blast. Glad I got to run. Also glad I'm back in the booth with you guys next week. These things are long and they're a little bit stressful, but I had a good time. I hope you guys had a good time, especially at the beginning when we were able to dice it up a little bit more. And I know, sometimes these new next gen races end up getting stretched out when you get some cars with damage in the back. So that's kind of what happened. I kind of felt it coming too. I needed one more yellow, and we didn't get it.
And James, of course, gotta give you a chance for your usual closing thought as we wrap up the last race of the regular season here at Talladega.
Yeah, it was definitely not one we really expected. Obviously, we were... Actually, no, wait, this is exactly what I predicted at the beginning. I was like, given how chaotic this season has been, this race is actually probably going to be pretty loose and straightforward. And it's exactly what happened. I just had a feeling that somehow it was just going to be a very kind of quiet race with not a whole lot of chaos. And obviously, we did get our fair share of chaos. The massive impromptu stage caution there notwithstanding, but yeah, it ended up becoming really fascinating battle there at the end with just 4 guys having a shot at the win. But I think it's a refreshing race compared to how some of the races have gone so far.
Well, as much as I would love to see David Westergreen in race report from the Roval next weekend, I think we'll all be glad to have him back in the booth next week. And I hope everybody will join us indeed for that broadcast from the virtual Roval at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I haven't seen any official word on the playoff grid. I know there was some issues with the Sim Racer Hub website trying to get the results uploaded. So I would say definitely stay tuned to the Elite Racing social media platforms for the update on the playoff grid there. I definitely don't want to give any premature announcement on that. So with that, thank you all for tuning in tonight. We'll see you in 1 week's time from the Roval with our grid of 16 playoff drivers. And until then, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you next time.